Welcome back to the Locked In Athlete podcast. Fired up about who I got in here today, dude. I got TJ Jordan from down in the central coast of California, the homeland for me, although I was a little bit more north. But TJ, dude, what brings you in here today, bro?
Just talk some ball with you, man. I'm fired up to be here. Been following you and Mitch and love what you guys are doing. So I was juiced when you called me and said, hey, let's hop on a call and talk some football and get to catch up, man. It's been a minute.
100%. And if there's anything as I start talking about TJ, like that I want everyone to understand before any of this shit gets started is just, to me, like what I appreciate him about the most, which is this is one of the realest dudes that is in the quarterback training industry. This is one of the real football guys that I know. And, you know, even our friendship, and we'll probably get into it in a little bit, but it's like just the way that our paths crossed and just how instantly, like, we knew, yo, this is somebody that I want to be in touch with. This is somebody that I want to track growing on his own and him track me. And so a really special thing. But TJ, as we get started, like I always like to just introduce you guys. You know, you're from the Central Valley. And as you look at the Central Valley and just growing up playing football there, it's an area where you have so much love in Southern California for football, and you have a little bit of love in Northern California, and it's like that central area of the state is just, it's an area that, like, for those that are dying to be passionate about football, like, it's not in the water there. And yet this guy is as freaking bleeds football as it gets. So, you know, when you think about just a quarterback who had a lot of success at the high school level, had really successful junior and senior season. I think you won your first ever league championship, right? Like for your school?
Yep, senior year, man. That was first undefeated league title ever, and it still stands, sadly. I was hoping those boys can get another one, but I think that program's back on the right track. So
let's go. And a lot of, I think he put together all league, all county, all area. And, you know, we're going to spend a lot of time today, like talking about quarterback coaching, quarterbacks in general, and just the state of football in that sense. But, you know, TJ, like I always like to start for you is just, as you think about, you know, what got you into loving the game of football? Like a lot of us join it for different reasons. A lot of us have different passions that hit us young, older, all of it. Like what brought you to the quarterback position, man, and when did that happen?
For me, man, it was pretty organic, I think. I grew up playing football. 5th grade was my first year playing youth ball. And then fast forward to the 8th grade, I'd never played quarterback. Our 8th grade team didn't have a quarterback. One of our coaches that was supposed to coach ended up, he couldn't coach. He had another obligation. My dad gets thrusted into coaching and was like, hey, we can run whatever offense you want. You know, you're going to play quarterback. We had some really good players on the team. So it kind of started there. And then it went into high school, you know, freshman year, sophomore year, and then I started on varsity my junior and senior year. But the love for the game really started as a kid. Just watching football. My dad's a diehard Packers fan, so Brett Favre was on every Sunday. It was like a religion. Like he was always on watching number 4. And I think seeing him, any football fans, you know, from the 90s, early 2000s, you know, understand the passion he played with. And there's certain guys, him, Aaron Rodgers, ironically, both were on the same team. But when you watch them throw, you're like, yo, Pops, let's go outside. I want to throw the ball. Like I want to try to imitate that. So like he's really one of the players that like made me fall in love with football and made me super interested in it. And then, you know, getting to the later years, guys that were like really influential, you know, in college. Someone that I was like absolutely obsessed with was Colt Brennan. You know, the late night Hawaii games, you know, they would come on at like 10 o'clock our time when they had the 7 o'clock games there. And watching those with my friends, my family. Ironically, my sister ended up going to the University of Hawaii, and I swear a huge part of that is because growing up there was Hawaii football on all the time. Yeah, so him, and then the third person that, like, you know, really 7th, 8th grade, just an absolute dog was Vince Young. I mean, you grow up and you watch these guys, you want to imitate them. You know, he was ahead of his time. Yep, I see that in the back. He was ahead of his time, put Texas back on the map. You know, and part of rebuilding that program, they won a natty, and obviously being in California, you know, I was like a lone Texas fan going to school with all these USC fans. So that was a fun time for me. but yeah, man, just getting into it. And then I think the quarterback position, really falling in love with being kind of not in an ego way, but all eyes on you.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of a control freak in me where I want to be in control. I kind of want to control my own narrative, and I feel like at quarterback you have the opportunity to do that. So I just think all of those things really came into play, and then just a feeling of like throwing a touchdown, watching your teammates be successful, because we're such a small part. I mean, we have to obviously take the snap, but the center has to snap the ball. We got to have pass pro. Our running backs are involved with that. And then throwing to the receiver, he ran a great route. He catches it. He has to do all the work. So, like, I think it's a huge team effort, and I think you fall in love with that, the process of that and all that comes with being a quarterback.
Well, not only are those some of the realest dudes that have played this position over the last, 20 years, but also, yeah, just it gives insight into like the type of player that you were as you went about it. Now, like at that young age, you fall in love with that. And then you also, like, for me, I was very similar in terms of like wanting the ball every play and things like that. But like at that age, you're also like not all the way conscious of that yet. Like you're starting to realize how much like,
Sure.
oh shit, other people don't want the ball like the way
Yeah.
that I do. And so it's like, it's kind of natural, but you go into like, I know you're somebody who like wanted to be the best because you had a passion for it. So it's like when you think about as you got started, you're throwing with dad in the yard, and his dad's a hell of a man, by the way. But as you look at trying to get better, I think a lot of these guys don't understand. I'm 33, you're 34 or 35.
I'll be 33 in 20 days.
Look at us, dude. Look at us.
Yeah,
Well,
yes, sir. Yes,
happy,
sir.
happy,
Your
happy early
your old ass
birthday.
has me by a year, so
There's no question about it. But it's, for us, like we didn't have YouTube examples out there like that. Like we just watched ball on Saturday and Sunday, and then we threw it in the yard with our dad. So like, as you got started as a young guy, like what were ways that you wanted or went about trying to become the best quarterback that you could be? Like what that process look like for you?
I think in high school a lot of it was just the like taking ownership and leadership with like just your guys. Like,
Yeah.
hey, it's Saturday, it's the middle of March. One of your buddies might have had a basketball game or has a baseball game or whatever it is. Let's get 4 of the 5 guys out there that play receiver and let's just go throw the ball. And I think that we've lost a lot of that
Right.
just in today's day and age. And a lot of the kids that I train and work with, I'm like, you guys come out here once, twice, sometimes 3 days a week, and you train with me, and it's a structured environment, and I have, all these things that we get through, and your receivers come out. But I'm like, I'm the one running the workout. Like, you guys have to take time on a Saturday, a Sunday, a Monday, before school, after school, go throw with your guys. I feel like it's nothing, crazy, but I think that the ability to kind of not be coached and then almost self-coach yourself. Why'd you miss a throw? Oh, my feet were fucked up there. Or like, I overstrided on that. Like, okay, I can kind of fix that. So I think that we've lost a lot of that. I know that like, basketball players, like guys in the early 2090s have talked about everyone has a trainer. Like, dude, just go hoop. Like, It's the same thing with quarterbacks. Like, just go throw. Like, just go throw. You don't need to overanalyze this shit. Go and throw the football. And when you come with myself or you or KJ, or Mitch or any of these guys that are training quarterbacks, like use that time to ask questions and then take that stuff. Because when you're really going to get great is when you're doing the lonely work. When you're doing the work where it's you and one receiver, you and 2 receivers, we're trying to build like just a foundational piece for you to kind of fall back on. But I think that was a huge part of my process, man. Just going out there and just throwing it around, and building trust like with your guys. And it's fun, like it's 35, 45 minutes of like you're going through the route tree. And then the last 15 minutes you're messing around. And it's like, hey, let's go work some goal line fades. Like, you know what I mean? We're going to catch with one hand. We're going to work the sidelines. We're going to do whatever. Just, kind of kids being kids. But I feel that helped me as I got older, stripping away the structure that was being a quarterback in 2007 to 2010 when we were in high school. Like, as like we could go on and on about that. I just think there's so many more resources now for kids that sometimes, like I tell people, like, guys, throwing a football shouldn't be hard. That should not be hard. Like, like throwing a spiral shouldn't be hard. Like, giving these guys the tools and then really them obsessing over chasing that feeling of just, consistently throwing correctly and what feels correctly for them.
Right. Well, philosophically, like that's what we believe, and that's very different. Like it's very different than a lot of what people believe that's out there. So like, like touching again, just you in high school. There's so much value to what you just said of just getting on the field, bro, and doing it. Like enjoying that process. There's almost an ignorance to that process that is just like pure, and it allows you to truly like have fun while you're out there. Like you ultimately get to play this game for a very short lifespan, and so like being able to go live it like that on the field, like that's as raw as it gets. Now you have the other side of it, which is like of course the quarterback coaching industry. And like before we get into current day with us and where we're all at, like did you have a quarterback coach? Like, was it just your high school quarterback coach? What was the dynamic there outside of like you just getting your boys right and working on you?
So I actually was very fortunate. It was after my freshman year, so freshman year through my junior year, we had a young quarterback coach, pass game coordinator that came over. He was at a high school coaching in Santa Barbara, so it's about an hour south of us. He came to my high school and ended up being our quarterback coach and pass game coordinator and kind of coached the receivers as well. But at the time, he was 31, so around our age.
Yeah.
He played JUCO football at Santa Barbara City College, went off to West Texas A&M, had a good career. And he really, single-handedly changed my life. Wow. He's the first guy as a freshman. I'll never forget it, very colorful language. Like, hey, I just met you. He's like, you can throw the fuck out of the ball, but you have no clue what you're doing. And I'm happy I'm here because I'm going to help you figure out how to do this. So I think cleaning up my footwork with him, it was everything with my feet. And I think I credit him and Coach JT Stone. He was ended up being the head coach at Santa Barbara High, and I worked for him. My first coaching job ever was him. He gave me an opportunity to coach right out of college. And now he's in North Carolina, in the Charlotte area, coaching high school ball. But still keep in touch with him. We talk probably once a week, once every other week. But I think I credit really everything to him because he believed in me before I believed in myself. Like I didn't know playing in college was from where I'm from, like such a far-fetched, like it wasn't a tangible thing. You couldn't go and grab it. I had nobody to like reference or go and talk to or pick their brain on it. So guys that have come before me, they were a lot older than I was. And I think he put that in my head that like, hey, you can go play at the next level. You just have to continue to work your ass off and believe in yourself. And I joke with him now, but I'm like, man, you never messed with my throwing motion, never. And I was naturally like a 3/4. Like I'm not comparing myself to the guys in the league now, but I'm saying how I threw the ball was very up to date now. And back then it was like, oh, he throws sidearm. He's way, his release point's too low. And Coach Stone was like, I could give a shit about that, dude. Like, let's clean your feet up. If your feet are good, like you could spin the ball. Like, don't overthink it. Just throw to the guy that's open. So huge credit to him. Like, I don't think that I'm in the spot I'm in. I don't think I'm doing what I'm doing if he didn't come into my life. I firmly believe that. I've told him that. We've had, long talks, emotional conversations, and I think that every young player, if you're fortunate to have a coach like that, you're going to gravitate towards them. You're going to want to be around them all the time like I did, and you're going to try to learn from their mistakes and then also the stuff that they're telling you to do, like you're really going to take to heart and you're going to do, like I got to a point in high school where I was like, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. As long as Coach Stone thinks I'm a good quarterback, like I'm going to sleep fine at night. As long as my teammates know that like I gave my best, I'm cool. Because my mom and dad and my sister, they're going to love me regardless if I throw 7 interceptions or 7 touchdowns. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, so I think that, he really, had a huge impact on me and is one of the big reasons why I wanted to be a coach, and kind of help kids or motivate kids and kind of shine the light on them to be like, you can do this if you, do stuff the right way and you're process oriented and, all those cliche things, but it's true. I mean, people that are great at stuff, they're great at stuff for a reason. They don't do like anything crazy. They just do ordinary things over and over better than everyone else. and, he instilled that in all of us, not just me, but the receivers and, a lot of guys that I went to high school with. We had a good little group that ended up going and playing after high school, and I credit a lot of that to him, man. Like, taught us football. Like I didn't know one high, two high. I didn't know shit. I was like, I didn't know any of that. So, like, I learned all that stuff, and I think now, like, I mean, as we have kids we work with that are sixth, seventh, eighth grade, and they can go over wide drive, against cover 2, cover 4, cover 3, cover 1, and they can give you where they're going, where they're looking, where's their progress. I didn't know any of that shit. I was 17, so like it went back to like I kind of played and we kind of played. I feel you're in the same boat, just very backyard, kind of free flowing. Like the guy's open, throw it to him. Like if you believe in your matchup, let's throw it. Throw over there. So that's kind of the way that I grew up in football when it comes to high school, and then obviously learning the game and obsessing over the game and always wanted to learn as I got into college.
No doubt. Did you ever have like what you're talking about? First of all, spitting bars all the way across the board. But like when you think about, the inspiration is really cool. And we'll come back to that for sure, just in terms of what got you into it and why you are the way you are philosophically as a coach. But like, did you ever have the reins taken away from you, or were you ever put in a box at any level? Because you obviously played beyond high school. So you just talked about what I think every kid's dream is in terms of like feeling supported and feeling supported to be themselves.
Yeah.
Like now is the question of like, for you, did you ever get that privilege taken away from you?
Yeah, you could probably hear my dog here in the background.
let her ride.
All right. I was going to say, I'm going to get him to stop. Yeah, I think that really for me, what happened in junior college, I went to a junior college that was like heavy run, pro personnel, 21 personnel, 11, 12, 22 personnel, under center. Like I didn't take one shotgun snap in the year I played there. Wow. And I had some fantastic coaches, don't get me wrong, but it was very old school thinking when it came to being a quarterback. So like, 3-step drop, we're throwing on rhythm. We're not hitching, 5-step drop throw, which was all really good. And I think I bring it back to like, I would get, hey, high release point, got to get the release point up, got to get the ball out. Like just old school coaching, which I appreciated as I moved on after that. Because I felt like it helped me play on time better. It helped my feet for sure. Yeah. But like the only thing, and my head coach was a former quarterback, and like I think very highly of him because he's a very good coach. But like I'd get on the run to the right or left, working counter boot. It was a staple in our offense, and like I'm leaning to the right and I'm throwing it from here. Like I'm getting it there, like I'm just flicking it out, and he'd be like, "You gotta square up, get downhill," like all the stuff that the coaching points that we were given as kids. But I feel like that was the only time that I was kind of in a box. And then when I left there, I went to Robert Morris University in Chicago, and it was West Coast system. I mean, 2-3 wristbands. Like I was kind of in a spot where I wasn't really able to play the game that I wanted to play.
Yeah.
It was very almost overly structured. And again, this isn't me saying anything negative because we were successful. We were a top 15 team in the country, for NAIA that year. And, we ran, we had a good system. But I just think that I couldn't get over the hump and be the one there. I was like teetering in camp because I didn't feel comfortable. And then kind of fast forwarding to like my last stop when I went to Whittier College, small D3 school in Southern California that I didn't even know existed. And I'm from California. And you have all these preconceived notions about D3 football. D3, and it's like, man, this is trash. Like, I'm not going D3. Like, what? I had aspirations of playing D1 ball. And I get there, and I'm like, oh, there's some real-ass dudes here. Yeah. And then on top of that, like, there's some good coaching and some guys that, a couple of our GAs are now coaching big-time D1 football. Like, we had a great group. We could never put it all together with offense would be lighting it up, defense was struggling, and then defense would be lighting it up, offense was struggling. But I think when I went there, it was the first like aha moment I had as a quarterback where we're in 4 wide, 5 wide, no huddle. We're going to throw the ball 45 times a game. I'd never experienced that. Yeah. So my first start there, I broke the school record for passing yards, and we lost. I'm pissed off, and our linebacker coach comes up to me and goes, "Hey, you threw for 485 yards today," and I was like, "What?" He's like, yeah, you threw for 485. Like, that might be a school record. Like, you had a good game. Like, we'll get back to the drawing board. And I'm like, 485? Like, I couldn't wrap my head around that. And I think that you go back, you watch the film, and like when you're in the game and you're just playing, and we talk about playing in a flow, I'm not worried about my feet. I'm not worried about my arm path. I'm not worried about any of that shit. I'm worried about communicating with the line. I'm worried about my matchups. I'm worried about what coverage they're in. And I'm just dropping back and playing football. And I never had more fun playing football than I did that year. Being able to just freely play. Like, I remember having several plays where it's like we have an arrow, attached with the inside zone RPO, and I'm not turning or moving my feet. I'm throwing it from my hip and just getting it to him. And again, I think like in meetings, it's like, hey, if we can square up and make that throw, let's do that. But I feel like I really credit and I was blessed there to have a quarterback coach that had played the position and was awesome and loved his players. Like, we loved him. He was a young dude. And like really just instilled confidence in us. So like having the junior college route of this crazy structure to this other route of like, get out there and sling it. Like, I would laugh because sometimes our game plan would be, obviously we're going to try to run the rock. We're going to try to do this, do that, and first quarter to go by. If we're not running the ball, you'd get on the headset from the OC like, hey, we're going to throw it 50 times tonight. And it's like, all right, let's get it. Like, it is what it is. So, had a lot of fun doing that and playing in all of those different systems and becoming. I think that's why that my coaching philosophy is very wide ranged. There's not one way to do something. You can do it a million different ways. So
well, and that's where I was trying to take you with it too. And it's like, I think that as you listen to your story and just like listen to the things that you've been through, it's like you've experienced all of it. You've experienced the different flavors as a quarterback. And that's like where we get into our shit, because I didn't meet TJ until like 4 years ago. And it's like, ever since then, bro, it's been a fucking dope ass relationship going back and forth, just spitting real about a lot of the struggle that we have with the dogmatic approach to just, this is the way that things are done, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And, you just said something that was really important is like, as you get to it, like the psychological aspect of being able to play free, like to play loose, like, it's amazing what people can accomplish, like when they have that. Yet quarterback is a position that, like, you are the most important position on the field, and you're asked to do so much mentally and physically on every rep that, I know that you and I are in the camp of allowing the quarterback to have freedom to limit all of those things that he could be thinking about, because he's already got enough shit on his plate. But, sure, we're going to get into the philosophy stuff, but just as you think about how your philosophy was shaped, like people have a very good understanding now of like, just what your career looked like. And even Brett Favre, Vince Young, it's like, look at the way those fucking guys threw the ball. So like, that's right in your face. Then he's talking about how he's had to do it multiple ways, and that Whittier, that year was like, I just threw for 485. Like, I wasn't thinking about that shit. I was out there playing loose and having fun. So it shapes your philosophy. And so as you think about like the way that you have now become a coach and your philosophical approach to coaching the position, what do you believe in, just in terms of what's the best way to support and cultivate the growth of a quarterback in 2024?
I think the number one thing is empowering them. So, every year, I coach high school football too, and I've been a coordinator for the last 8 years, and have had some absolute dogs that I've had the opportunity to coach and that lit it up. And the number one thing every single year when we have our, intro to our offense and my philosophy, and this goes to the guys I train, is like, we have to empower the quarterback. Yeah. And what I mean by empower the quarterback is, whatever offense you're running, they have to own that. My junior college quarterback coach, who I'm very close with, and I had the opportunity to coach his son, full circle moment, which was crazy. But, he would always tell us, I don't want you guys to run the plays. I want you to run the offense. And there's a difference between running the plays and running the offense. And I think that comes from your coach empowering you to have an ownership of the offense, have an ownership of what you're doing, of what you're running, ideas on personnel. Obviously, you're the coach. You're gonna lead the way, but I think just empowering those guys. And when it comes to throwing the football, I think at the very beginning when I started training quarterbacks, I didn't even mean to train quarterbacks. I was helping out a family friend because he was like a 12-year-old looking to go play quarterback for his first year of youth ball, and it turned into me, creating an Instagram page, and now I'm training a bunch of local kids here in our area, and that's kind of how it happened. So, we've talked about it. I don't like even using the term business, but it's turned into that in the most organic way. Like, it was never meant to be this, but it's turned into this. So I'm fortunate for all the guys I've been able to coach, but, kind of going back to that philosophy of throwing is I was nervous, and this kind of ties us together. I was nervous in 2016, 2017 when I started on what I truly believed in how we should throw. I didn't know necessarily how to verbalize that to my guys.
Yeah.
Like I was working their footwork. I know that like we got to throw with our legs and our hips, but being able to like verbally tell them and give them these cues, I wasn't great at yet. And I was nervous of posting certain things or certain drills. And as a young coach, you're trying to catch up with like other quarterback coaches that are like gurus instead of like, hey, let's just do what we do. And I think after that first year I had, it was like doing the stuff that I believed in was helping the kids I was working with. And then that kind of ties in, my philosophy with like throwing. We talk all the time, like your arm slot is, you're an artist with a paintbrush. Everyone's going to be different. It's not going to look the same. But we have absolutes when it comes to our lower body, like our foundational piece, throwing with our hips, being rotational. And I didn't know how to verbalize that stuff. I couldn't explain it really until, I would say 2019 is when it really started like changing for me. Going into 2019, 2020, we met 2020, it was right around COVID.
Right there,
and you started putting content out, and I was like, holy shit, like this is it. Like this is exactly what I've been struggling to try to say is you guys were doing that. And then it was the other thing too, was like the way that, you can be an example when you're at your workouts, right? Like we're going to work this drill. This is what it should look like. Obviously I don't have the velocity that I used to have, but like I could still spin the football a little bit. So the way that I naturally threw was exactly what you guys were trying to say. So it kind of goes back to the high school me of just like naturally just going out there and throwing it. But I think that, like I said, tying it all together, like empowering these guys to believe in the way that you throw. If you throw a way that you're not comfortable with, I'm going to help you. We're going to help you try to iron out those kinks and figure that out. But like everyone's going to look a little bit different, right? The way Jaden Daniels throws is different from Aaron Rodgers. The way that Josh Allen throws is different from Lamar. But there's so many foundational pieces that are the exact same. So I think that the position and where it's at, throwing at least, is beautiful because everyone's adapting. I think that there's a lot of coaches out there that like believe the same thing we believe that were laughed at and criticized and made fun of and, oh, look at this bullshit. And it's like, okay, like turn on a game Sunday, Monday, Saturday, go to an elite high school game, with elite high school quarterbacks. That old way of getting your front toe pointed to the target and striding out and getting a higher lead, that shit's dead. Like no one's throwing that way. So, like I'll be politically correct with a lot of stuff, but when it comes to that, I will die on that hill. Like, and I have been. Like, no one throws that way. And I will have a conversation with anyone, any coach. I want to get this information out. I'm not withholding it. Watch a football game. Watch. He's freaking playing NCAA earlier today. I mean, they're off plat. It's insane. These
Constantly.
are video game dudes making this stuff. You and KJ have talked about it. It's crazy. So it's it's awesome the direction it's going. It really is.
Well, so fire, and I'm in complete agreement, obviously. And like when you talk about empowering a quarterback, like you're talking about giving them freedom. Like, so when you say you'll die on that hill, shit, I may have already died on that hill, dog. Like just in terms of all the shit that's been thrown my way in terms of the quote unquote looseness to our teaching. Or, again, when you go about empowering an individual, like you want them to do what they do as well as they can do it. Like I want to give you the freedom to be able to find that. So I'm going to play devil's advocate on why would you take so much heat? Why would I take so much heat? It's a very traditional understanding of quarterback that is very rule based. And, something that irritates me, obviously, is just that, like, how the fuck can I throw the ball as well as I can throw it? My brother the same, and all the quarterbacks that we train, and you tell me that we teach too loose and that we don't teach fundamentals and rules and those things. That's where I get super upset, is because it's just like, well, how can I do it? How can all our guys do it if we don't teach those things? So either we don't need any of those fucking things to begin with, or like we have done that to the point where we understand how to use our lower body. We understand what's important and what's not important. And now we say, get the fucking job done, bro. You're going to have a lot of things being put on your mental plate, demanded by your high school or college coach. That's enough to think about, let alone managing your offense, pre-snap alignments, motions, all those things, reading coverage, post-snap, reading the play out. And like, I'm supposed to be fucking maniacally thinking about the way that I step everywhere. It's just, that's not, obviously something that we don't agree with. But I wanted to ask you the question, because I love, and obviously this is what we believe together, is like empowering them and giving them freedom is such a vital aspect to playing this position at your highest capacity. And like the best in the world are doing that. Like Patrick Mahomes is unequivocally the best quarterback in the world right now. And he is probably the loosest quarterback we've ever seen. Now, that's where I'm asking, like, what do you believe the place is for rules with guys? Because that's what I see as the culture clash. The culture clash is these guys are sitting here telling me, like, just trust your body, trust what you do, play loose, but they're going to coach me up, but they're going to provide bumpers and allow me to run into the walls. The other side is, no, that is undisciplined, that is not this, that is not this. So as you think of rules, TJ, like, I know the quality of coach you are. I know the discipline that you put in places within quarterback mechanics. But like, how do you balance this concept of complete freedom for the kid and go do you, with also like, yeah, but I got to make sure that these things are also like there. Like, talk about that dynamic a little bit.
I think one of the biggest things for me that I try to accomplish with our guys from just different types of drops and platforms and whatever is being able to throw on time. So like, I think that that's a rule that in a fundamental thing that I feel is so important. And I tell all the high school kids, like, if you understand what's going on pre-snap and you can throw on time, you can throw quicks on time, you can throw from gun 1, 2, 3, or from under center 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But you could throw on time and you could throw accurate. You'll throw for 2,000 yards alone just off of that.
Right.
Just off of that. Just being able to throw on time and understand pre-snap what they're giving you. So I would say number one is throwing on time. The other thing is like working as much as you can without having an O-line and D-line, but working realistic movements. Like we have cone drills that we'll work, in our EDDs, right? Our everyday drills. Like we'll have cone drills, climbing up, climbing back, and then, hey, we're moving off platform, setting our feet, and we're throwing, right? Is that a realistic movement where you're going up and back, up and back? No, not in a game. But you're developing a foundation, you have a great base, right? And you're comfortable within that base. But like when we get to the nitty gritty and we can throw, other moving objects at you, like other people, to rush you and give you realistic movements where I'm not telling you where to go. You're going to get a rush here from the B gap on your right side, and he might cut in front of you. He might go around you. So you might have to climb up and then throw a curl over here. You might have to drift away, put your foot in the ground and throw a dig, right? Depending on what we're doing. But I think that that's where my training has completely changed. And I think a lot of these great quarterback coaches, they're going that direction, is to get warm and kind of build that foundation. Now with your younger guys, you're going to work more of that, more of the cone stuff, more of the foundational pieces and drills. But I think that if you can do that, and it goes back to your thing, if you have a great base and you're on balance and you're able to turn through your back cleat and throw the ball and your hip's going to drive, I tell my guys all the time, I don't ever want you to feel like you can't make a throw on the field. There is not one place, not 1 inch, not one blade of grass that you should not feel you can make a throw. And that comes into play when it comes to being flexible, like in your upper half, your lower half, trust in your legs, trust in your hand, trust in your wrist. One thing that like you guys coach that I didn't even think to coach, because I just thought like if you can't throw a spiral, that's like weird. This is hard. Right? But you have to teach these things. You really do. So like your hand placement, your wrist placement, not breaking or moving your wrist. It's like if we're right-handed, we're gonna rip our wrist left to get that spin on the football, right?
Yeah.
Not over gripping it. What is our grip? All of these things, like there is not one stone that doesn't go unturned. And I think that people just see the clips that are posted.
Right.
They're not there for the hour to hour and a half of workout that we're out there with on our phone a script or a piece of paper a script. Like there's a rhyme or reason behind everything that we're doing. But I think that you can marry those two together. And if you have that foundational piece of being able to throw on time, being able to have your weight in a position where you're always ready to rock and roll and rip it, then you can kind of play freely, And I think that some guys get into a place, and I see it with younger quarterbacks, is like they're comfortable drifting, throwing off their back foot. Now, it's not necessary all the time.
Right.
It's not. So, like if you're throwing, a sail concept and you have, number twos running this sail route, 1, 2, 3 hitch, throw it. You don't need to drift. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's then giving them a tool belt to like know when and where to pull these different types of tools out. But I think that less is more. And when you got a guy that's an athlete, like put your arms around him, encourage him. Like if he naturally can throw the ball, right, and he can run around and like the ball pops out of his hand and he understands football and he's making plays, encourage him. Hey, your feet were a little bit sloppy right there, but fuck, man, that's a hell of a play. Like you're on time. That's a hell of a play. I saw what you saw. Great job. I just think that we overcoach, and that gets kids. I see so many kids that are just playing freely and having fun, and they got all this swag in high school. They go to a D1 school, and I watch them on TV, and I'm like, who the fuck is that? That's not the kid I saw.
Yes, sir.
I don't know who that is. So I think too that college coaches, and there's some fantastic college coaches that are going to put your arms around them and, hey, we're going to make you better fundamentally, and we're going to, like you said, put these guardrails on. But at the end of the day, we recruited you to be you.
Yep.
And that's my biggest problem I have is let's not recruit a guy and ask him to be somebody he's not, because then mentally we start acting like someone we're not. And then on the field, you're never going to be the person that you are, because you're trying to be someone that you want your coach to be. And if you're going to win the job or you're going to lose the job, do it your way. And what I mean by that is not being defiant, but be you. Do you. Like, it took me till my junior year of college to say, I'm going to do what I do and I'm going to be coachable, but I'm going to play this position with flair. I'm going to have fun. If I have to throw it off platform because it's easier, I'm going to do it. And then I'll listen to the coaching afterwards and I'll try to improve, but I'm going to be me. And if they don't play me, that's okay. I can live with that. But I don't want to act like I'm someone else. I see a lot of kids when they get to the next level doing that, and it's sad.
No question, dude. There's this, something that it's just hard is we're all about evolution. Like everything that you're talking about right now, I mean, just spitting fire after fire after fire. And it's like, these are all your own philosophies that you believe in as you watch the game evolve. And empowering these kids with what they are going through, in terms of anxiety and what they're facing in today's world with technology and the way that all of these different things are now affecting them. Like you and I both know that at the end of the day, like if I put my quarterback in a box and he's overthinking and doubting himself, we're fucked before the lights ever come on. And so, supporting and empowering our guys is something that is of utmost importance to us. Now, here's where I was saying that I have a hard time is like, you look around and you watch college and NFL football, and you're seeing the guys doing all the things that we train in our sessions, to like have our guys practice, have our guys work on, to expand the realm of possibilities of how we can throw the ball. There is resistance to that. Like, not any one individual, just culturally, right? Like, how many times are we going to have to fucking hear on TV, like, nobody can do that except Mahomes? It's like, really? I have a 13-year-old that I'm out here working with that can do a lot of that shit. Like, he's not Patrick Mahomes. Got a long way to go, guys.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the throws that we're marveling at, like, that these guys say, I'm using the example of the announcers. It's like, no one can do that. Like, why do you feel that that exists? You said, like, do you watch TV? Like, I can just watch TV and I can see it every week. It's like, yet there's still a big resistance to that. Where do you feel that resistance comes from, or what is that?
I just think that it's because it's new. It's fairly new, and anytime there's something new or something that is labeled as like flashy, right, or unconventional, it's going to be looked at as well, no, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Like, we don't want to coach that because, like, that's just not fundamentally, like, right. You know, like, we can't do that. You know, we can't do this. We can't do that. But, like, look at the evolution of basketball and, you know, Steph Curry and all these kids. And I'm not saying it's right, because you shouldn't go out to a session and try to make a diving throw, you know, sidearm completely laid out. Just like you shouldn't pull up to a basketball practice and start shooting half-court shots.
Totally.
You know what I mean? But if you work your ass off and you're doing what those guys are doing and you're training your body to do that and you're thinking outside of this box, you're going to be able to do that stuff. You know, maybe not at that highest level, obviously, but you can do that. And I look around the NFL and I look around college, and it's like, I mean, the amount of college quarterbacks that I watch, and I just smile because I'm like, dude, all these guys can rip it. Like, as long as their coaches are like encouraging that and we're continuing to work on it, like, man, like the quarterback from a throwing perspective is in a good spot. Now the mental side, when it goes to college to the league, that's a whole different thing with what we got going on right now. But I just think that there's resistance to anything that's new, you know, and I think that in 10 more years, it's going to be the norm, you know, and like, shout out the absolute GOAT, the best thrower to ever put cleats on. It's not a debate. All right, it's Aaron Rodgers, and he has changed the way that everybody throws. And Aaron Rodgers learned that from watching Brett Favre at practice for those 3 or 4 years he was his backup. He's never had a personal quarterback coach, ever. He hasn't. He's like, this is what this feels like. This is what Brett does. Now I'm going to fine-tune it, and I'm going to ask him. And now I'm going to create a phenomenon. For 10 years in the league, nobody could throw like him. Nobody. Right? Now, the next person that was way ahead of his time that could just rip it, Dan Marino, right? But a lot. We've watched clips of that, like a lot of very, very similar side by side. They make it look effortless. And I think that, you know, in another, like I said, another 10 years, it'll be 20 years from, you know, when Rodgers like really started lighting it up. I'm not talking when he came to the league, but when he really started lighting it up, you know, 10 years from now, it'll be the norm. Like it is now with the NFL guys. They all throw like Rodgers. It's like the pop step, the arm extension and finishing. And, you know, you got all these little kids trying to do the Joe Burrow where he's turning off his back foot and warm up. Like, you know, these, but you see these guys even have transitioned in college. Joe Burrow didn't throw how he throws now. He didn't throw like that at LSU. And he was effective. He won the Heisman, arguably one of the best years ever. So it's not like you can't play quarterback throwing that way, but why do you think he changed? Because it's easier for him. Because he has other stuff to deal with. He has to worry about a call in his headset in Pittsburgh in December, and it's freezing cold. And he has to understand what shell are they giving me, what personnel are they in, okay, where are they going to rotate to, do I have motion here, where's the play clock, am I checking protection? You know what I mean? He wants to not worry about his fundamentals of throwing. He wants to just throw it. You know, so that's why these guys are always continuing to evolve. You know, and I think too the notion of like, why not try to imitate the best?
Thank you.
If you're a golfer, right, back in the day, try to imitate Tiger's swing. Let's see if we can do that. I'm not going to be Tiger, right, but I can imitate that. So I think that's, you know, a big reason why.
Well, and for young quarterbacks listening, and that's a huge one right there. Is like the idea of why not try to be the best. Like you know that everything that I teach and everything I do is heavily rooted like through a psychological aspect. So
Yeah.
like when we talk about why would anybody not try to be the best,
Yeah.
like the idea behind why people would not try to be the best, and maybe some of you guys that are listening have been told that that's the case, is don't try to be the best, is like in terms of where that shows itself is when people say like you can't do what Aaron Rodgers can do, you can't do what these guys can do. Like what's going on there psychologically is that it's those people believe what they believe because if they acknowledge that you could be like that, that would mean, why the hell did you never do that? Why did you never do that? So
Yeah.
it's a look in the mirror type thing. Whereas it's like, I didn't go to the NFL. I played big time college football, but I didn't go to the NFL. So I can tell myself forever that, like, yeah, I just don't have genetically what Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes have.
Yeah.
No. I can fucking throw the ball. Again, they're the best in the world at what they do, guys, but get on a fucking field with me. Like it's you see a lot of it. You see a lot of it, and I didn't resemble that at all during my high school or college career because I had a belief in that way as well. And so you think about like the quarterbacks that I see being successful now are the ones that are willing to step outside the realm of like those boxes and show themselves what they can become.
Yep.
And so you've trained a lot of guys. Like you've trained a lot of guys over the years. And I want to start with Darien right now. Like Darian Mensah is at Tulane. He's a freshman. He's having a hell of a football season. He's worked with you for a long time, but you and I both know like how we always do it is like that kid gets the credit for what he's done. Like we are here to play our role. Like that dude gets the credit. But that said, the reason that I want to go here is like when you look at Darien, like what is it about Darien that I started as a true freshman up in college ball, man. Like that is no easy task. And yet I would say that the way he's making it look is easy. So like what is it about Darien and like that, you know, because there's lots of years behind that. Like what is it about him that is allowing him to do that? And like, what do you respect about Darien so much?
I mean, the one thing that pops out to me, I met Darian when he was 14 years old. He was a freshman going into his freshman year, and we connected through, some kids that I trained, and, he came out with us, and we obviously hit it off. But one thing that I always appreciated about him is he was never chasing trends, never trying to be cool. He just was cool, right. And I think that there's a difference. And, throughout high school, he had, a lot of adversity that, he overcame and absolutely lit it up his senior year. And he had two offers coming out. He had Tulane and he had Idaho State. So my whole thing with him was, I don't give a shit if you have 50 fucking offers. You can only go and play at one school. And I think that just perspective, it's like he went on his Tulane visit. I'll never forget. He called me after, I think it was Saturday evening, and he said, hey, like, I'm going to commit here. And I said, congrats, dude. That's awesome. Like, I think that's going to be a great fit for you. And we fast forward his true freshman year, he redshirted. They had a whole different staff. This year he comes in to spring, whole new staff, and is projected to be like the fourth or fifth. They had, an Oregon transfer. They had another kid that was the number 2 last year that played significant snaps. And Darien went into it and put his head down and believed in who he was and played with tremendous swag and just kept doing what he does. Like every day, just show up, be consistent. If there's a drill, I'm going to win the drill. I don't need to talk about it. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to do it. So I would just say like it sounds so cliche, but his self-belief is, at that age, I haven't seen and worked with very many guys that have that. And I think
I
that's
was
what separates
I was on the field with the Fool for one day, and that's what I felt. That's
you
what
could
I
just
felt.
tell. Yeah, you could just tell. And I think that like
100%.
his his ability to believe in himself, but then know who he is, you know. And I know we've had conversations, you know, via text throughout the process here and there. And I remember, you know, a text message that I'll never forget and that I appreciate even being a part of. But, you know, he just said, hey, I had a great scrimmage and I think I'm going to win the job. And I was like, that's awesome, dude. And his response back was a little, not concerning, but I was shocked with his response back. He said, you know, afterwards I went back home and I was, you know, kind of thinking like, man, like, can I really do this? You know, like almost like, shit, this is going to happen. And I think all I said is like, you're a dog, be a fucking dog. Don't overthink this. Like, you've been doing this your whole life. Like, just go play ball, you know? And he's like, you're right. Like, you know, and I joked with him, if you ever need a hype man, just let me know. Like, cause I think sometimes you need encouragement from a coach, from a teammate, from your parent even, to just remind you who you are, you know. And a thing that I say to a lot of my guys that have an opportunity to go play in college is, don't forget who the fuck you are. You know, do not forget who you are. Do not forget what got you here, and continue to be you. And Darien has been him unapologetically the whole entire time. And I couldn't be more proud of him. And I tell people all the time, Darian Mensah would have been successful and would have went D1 regardless if he met me or not, because he was determined to do that. And guys like that are special. Guys like that are going to figure it out. They're going to make it happen. So for me to be a part of his journey is extremely humbling, and for him to bounce, you know, ideas off of me and come out. And I think he doesn't understand the impact he has yet.
Yeah.
But the impact that he has here on the Central Coast of California, you know, he's from San Luis Obispo, California, and you got people walking around wearing Tulane stuff. Like, that's the impact that I'm serious. That's the impact he has. That's the impact that a lot of these kids have, that we go back to, you know, I didn't have someone to go and ask a question of. You know, one thing that Darien does without even being prompted to do is, if we have the transition from my younger guys to my older guys and he's there in the off season, every time he always takes time to talk to them. Hey, how you guys doing? What's your name? Oh, I'm Darien. Like, bro, they know who you are. But like, he just has that humbleness to like to do that. It couldn't be happening to a better human being. And I think for anyone out there listening, be who you are, believe in who you are, and don't ever waver from that, because there's going to be times where adversity is going to hit you right in the face, and you have to continue to believe in you, because if you don't believe in you, no one else is going to believe in you, you know. And you have to just kind of live by that if you're going to play this position, because it's the most scrutinized position. Everyone talks shit about it. But like I said, and I've said on Twitter before, if you can't throw a 10-yard out, shut the hell up. I don't want to hear about any of this. Like, you can have an opinion, but like, I don't want to hear any of that, because it's the hardest job in all of sports. So, you know, I think that, yeah, Darian's one of those guys that's extremely special, and he's just scratching the surface. And I'm excited and fired up to watch him continue to grow, you know, as a player in that system. And he's at a fantastic program with a fantastic coaching staff.
It's beautiful, dude. And self-belief is something that I know you as a coach, you take that on under your wing, of truly having a philosophy out on the field with him and with all your other guys that allows them to even establish who they are, to actually even have that understanding. Because you said, you know, it kind of sounds cliche, but it's self-belief. Well, it's like, yeah, I got a whole lot of data for you that tells you that ain't cliche, dog. That's a fucking very small part of this generation in general, let alone the fucking quarterback position. So when you talk about self-belief, like what you've given him and what he's given himself, those two things working together. And of course, like, you know, all the rest of the things that have shaped and influenced him. But at the end of the day, like, he's established who he is. And who he is, he now knows and believes in. And it's to that quote of like, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Like, talk your shit. Say what you're going to say. I don't give a fuck. I know who I am. And nothing you can say can take that away from me. And you younger quarterbacks that are listening to this, like, I always ask, one of the first questions I ask my guys is, I'm like, who wants to have more success or see you be more successful than you would like to see for yourself? And they're like, maybe like my mom, you know? And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, let's go ahead and give you your mom. Okay, let's give you your mom. But you basically just said nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So then why the fuck would we value the opinion of what all of those other people think when they don't want you to succeed the way that you want to? Like, or as Tom Brady says, like, it was very blunt on his Man in the Arena deal, is he's like, I hear what everybody says. Like, yeah, like I don't love that people talk shit about me or say things about me, but he goes, a long time ago, I understood that nobody has higher standards for me than I do.
Right.
So anything that any of these people would say about me would fall underneath what I would say about myself. And
Absolutely.
it is limiting that noise comes from us developing our own understanding of that. And so like as we kind of get concluded here, it's like you just use Darien, and that's why I asked about Darien specifically, because you could go into more depth about him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how about all the guys you work with? Now we're talking youth. We're talking all the guys across the full spectrum. Like, what are the things in today's 2024 modern quarterback? I'm not talking college and NFL, although those things will apply. I'm talking about every single kid that's listening to this that's under the age of 17 right now. Like, what are the things, TJ, that you've noticed that are the most successful guys or the best quarterbacks?
Have a goal as to what you want to accomplish, right? Have a goal. If the goal is playing in college, right, and you're a seventh grader, that's a great goal to have, right? But obsessing over just getting a scholarship is not how you should approach it. I think that you should approach it by the other stuff that has nothing to do with that, because all of that stuff ties together and becomes one and is going to get you to where you want to go to. So I would say that love what you're doing. Like, you have to love this shit, not like it. You have to love it. You can't be in like with it. You have to be in love with it. And I can't stress that enough, because I, as a high school coach, tell our guys all the time, like, you have to love this because I love it. And if you don't love it, you're gonna mistake passion for anger, right? And it's not anger. I'm passionate about this. I want you to be passionate about this. So if you share that passion, with a coach or with a family member, even your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, whatever it is, continue to chase that, right? But you have to have those things. It all starts with love of football and obsessing over football. And how are you going to continue to get just a little bit better? Because you can't do it in one off season. You can't do it. So you have to continue to chip away, work at it. And I would say we go back to like believing in yourself and believing in what you want. Like, don't let anything get in your way. Continue to go, and I promise you, you're going to have some adverse times. And also understand that starting in high school on the varsity level is fucking hard. It's hard. So, like, don't think because you saw little Timmy start for 4 years at whatever high school that, oh, I'm going to go do that. No, you might not, because that's his path. That's not your path. And I think that we get caught up in looking this way, looking behind us.
Yep.
Just look forward. Just look forward. Continue to do what you're doing, believing in your process, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and the people that you hang out with that are in your foxhole, they have to be on the same wavelength as you. And I think in today's day and age with social media and everything, it's so easy. Kids are very easily influenced, to do the cool thing or the cool trend. And the guys I work with, that I have worked with that are successful, the Darian Mensahs, the Dino Maldonados, the Bo Kellys, like, those guys are them. Like, they're them all the time, and they believe in what they believe in, and they're not swayed by other stuff, and they're not followers, right? Yeah. Like, this is the next position, or this is the position of leadership. Like, you have to be a leader to play this position. And I think we always talk with my younger guys on Sundays just about little stuff that, like, I feel is important that has nothing to do with throwing a football. Nothing to do with throwing a football. Like, bring someone along with you. Like, we have rules here where everyone has to play 12 plays in youth football. Everyone has to play. So if you're on a team with a 12-play guy and he's playing receiver and you guys call a pass play, he might not catch the ball. And guess what? It's not the end of the fucking world. Encourage him. Like, because maybe if you continue to encourage him at practice and throughout games, he's going to come up clutch for you, right? So, like, how do you bring people along? That's really how I want to judge quarterbacks. Like, are they good human beings? Because when it's all said and done, the whistle's going to blow and you can't play football anymore. So, like, what are you going to do? What do you have like left? You know, like, if any teammate that I played with, you know, says anything about me, I hope it has nothing to do with play. I hope it has to do with, man, that guy was a great time in the locker room.
Yeah.
That guy was a great time at any team bonding thing. Like, he made the meeting rooms fun. Like, he was a good teammate. That to me is what it is all about. Like, that is what it is all about, and that's what you should be striving for. And then along the way, you're going to learn how to throw the football better. You are, and you're going to build relationships with great people, and you're going to meet great people, and you're going to be coached by great people. But you know, it's all part of the process, and understand that everybody's process is different because everyone has a different story. And enjoy it. Enjoy the whole thing. You got to enjoy the good with the bad. You have to, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So enjoy the good, enjoy the bad, and just keep it pushing. It's all you can do.
And that's why this is one of the best fucking quarterback coaches in the country, and one of my very, very good friends, is because to listen to the passion that he just spoke with that comes from his heart, guys. And like, listening to all that he's talked about in terms of his journey, his philosophies, the way he trains, those things, like, to hear him say that it's about who you are as a person, like, that is absolutely what the quarterback position is about. You signed up to play the most difficult mental, physical, and spiritual position in all of sports. When I say that word spiritual, what I mean is exactly what TJ just talked about, knowing who you are. I say you got to lead yourself in order to lead them. And if you can lead yourself and then you can lead them, then you can go fucking do something with that. If, just like TJ said, if you don't love it, you won't do what's necessary to become the version of yourself that you need to become to really be proud of what you actually do at this fucking position. Because at this position, just as he just said, like, you're not defined by the touchdowns you throw, bro. You're not defined by the championships you win. Those things at this position, you have to get lucky in order for those things to happen. You still have worked to put yourself in that position. But one of my favorite things that I've ever heard a quarterback say was basically at the beginning of Tom Brady's Man in the Arena thing. He said, I just want, before this all kind of kicks off and gets started, for you guys to understand that I got extremely lucky to be where I am. And that if things didn't bounce exactly the way they bounced, there are another 10,000 Tom Brady's right now sitting there watching this, that it could have been them. And when you think about some of the things that happened in his career, Bill Belichick benching the highest paid quarterback in the NFL to give a rookie a shot during the season because of the way he approached his practice habits, good luck. That is one of 10 million coaches that would make that type of decision. So for you guys that are out there listening, it's like, this is the first of many times that TJ and I are going to sit here. I may have a beer in my hand next time and we just shoot the shit, as opposed to getting you guys to like feel who he is and where it comes from. But I always find those things to be important too. So TJ, you know, our future ones, and it's coming quick, are going to be just our shoot the shit sessions. But I appreciate your time, man. Is there any parting message in any way about, you know, Jordan QB development, what you're doing? Like, I want you guys, as you listen to this dude, and I'll throw it up on the screen too, for you guys to go follow this guy. Get around as many voices like this as possible. And this is one of them. You're not going to see any real dudes or any non-real dudes that come on this shit. So anything left for these quarterbacks, just parents, anything, TJ, that you would say as we conclude this thing?
Use your resources. Social media can be negative, but it can also be a beautiful thing and be extremely positive, and it brings people together. And that's what Austyn's done, what the Locked In community has done, is it's brought so many people together. So, shoot me a follow. Any of you guys, parents, doesn't matter, have any questions really on anything, like any questions that I could answer, I'll be glad to answer and get back to you guys. I love what Austyn's doing, love what Mitch is doing. I think this is an awesome platform to really talk about what it really means to be a quarterback, and also educate not just the players, but educate the parents on how to navigate this thing, because it's way different than it's ever been. And you have people that are in your corner that want to help. There's a lot of people around the country that want to help and want to see you guys as the players be super successful. So use your resources as much as you possibly can. But I appreciate you, Austyn, for having me on. It was a blast, dude. This is way overdue. So super stoked that we could get together and get on here.
No doubt. And more's coming. And as we sign off, I want you guys to send this fool DMs and tell him to get his dad to get that barbecue fired up. And let's get the camp going and do what we do, because that was one of the most fun times I've had in a long time, dude.
2025, it's coming. 2025.
All right, done deal. Done deal. Well,
Yes,
I appreciate you. You go tell your family that I said hello, all right? And guys, any questions that you have, drop them in the comments for us and all of that. But you'll be seeing this guy back again. You'll be seeing me too. You're stuck with me. So signing out, guys. I'll see ya.